I'm back in the hangar again. Okay, singing might suck, but let's hope this update doesn't. I pick up from where I left off from the last video. Thanks for watching.
Well, I haven't been to the hangar in a couple weeks. We've been through 2 blizzards and yeah, a lot of snow. So let's go take a look. Follow me. Oh, a lot of snow here. Big snow pile. Oh boy. What? Well, gonna take a bit to shovel our way into the hangar now. Ain't that? Look at that. Yeah. Oh, that airplane out in the out there in the field. That's buried. I got some snow shoveling to do before I go to the hangar. Yep. See you inside.
2 hours later.
Oh, hello. Okay, as you can see, I'm in the hangar now. Yeah, it had to be shoveled out and what have you. I went to get a shovel, and by the time I got to where I could get a shovel, somebody else was here at the hangar, phoned me and they said, no, it's clear now, they shoveled it out, so I came back and yeah, now we're starting our work. Today, the goal is very simple. Finish working on these brake lines and cables, that kind of stuff, and get them routed properly. So I'm going to be removing my brake cables, cutting another set that will be that much longer so that they route properly and don't get binding up. And then when that's done, we'll carry on with a few more projects on here, and I'll just keep you up to date. So thanks for following along, appreciate it. Make sure that you click the like and the subscribe button and leave a comment, because I do respond to all comments. Again, thanks for following along. Let's get to work. As you can see, it's back on the stands. Fortunately, I had some help putting these stands back on here so I can work on these wheels. Now, I think I mentioned earlier when I purchased my replacement brake cabling, I purchased what was recommended for brakes. And these are brakes on dirt bikes and motorcycles and that kind of stuff. And this was the original brake cable for the airplane, and this is the diameter for the brake cable that I purchased. It's I can almost fit it in there. Much thicker cable in the center and bigger jacket as well. The other sheath. I'm not sure what they call that. I'll put the name down there. So yeah, no big deal. I'm sure this was fine when the floats were sent out. It works. But so now I'm going to have a thicker cable for the brake cables. I'm not sure what that means. Other than I'm thinking when they squeeze the brakes, maybe there's going to be less stretch in the cable. There's probably going to be some stretch, always is, but less because it's a bigger cable. It's also going to add a little bit of weight. Being an airplane, well, you know, that's what you don't want, but oh well. So I'm going to make this new cable approximately something like that much longer. Let's call it a foot longer than what was originally there. It might be too long for a perfect routing, so there might be a little bit of excess, but I don't care. I'd rather have a little bit of excess than going, darn, I'm 1 inch too short. So yeah, let's get to cutting. So I'm just going to do this. There's the old cable. let's add, like I said, about a foot. I'm going to add that much to it and cut it. Now I'm not using side cutters or dikes. These type of cutters are what you should be using. They make a cleaner cut, especially on these kind of cables. And if you'll notice, if I used something like a diagonal cutters, I would have crushed this, then it would have cut. And then you'd have to kind of get rid of that crushed section. If you notice, nothing's crushed. That's the right type of cutters for heavy cable, wiring, that kind of stuff. That's what you want. So, yeah. Okay. Okay, since this cable inside that I've got does not have one of these nice LED stoppers, I had to buy the kind that basically screws on. So effectively what I need to do is just put this stopper on, tighten the screw, and it does the same thing. So yeah. Get that going. There, nice and secure, won't go anywhere. Now, what I need to do is cut the center cable to length. I need a little bit of space where my handle is, so let's give it there. Now this is all going to be adjustable once it's installed. And I need some at the bottom. It's going to be about like that long. So I need to cut this off about there. Or what I could do is put this back inside the old cable.
Two very boring minutes later.
Okay, so my old cable, if I reinsert the cable inside the jacket all the way, I had this much sticking out of the end of it. So, if I match that, I should be good. But I'm going to add 2 inches, 3 inches to it because I can always trim it later. So, there. That makes it there. Yeah. Get the cutters.
Just then.
Okay. What I'm doing here, this is the cable inside the new sheath here. What I've got here is a solder pot. It's got solder in there, and there's flux, And what I do is I drench this in the flux, dip it into the solder pot. Here, let me bring you a little closer so you can see inside there. And let's see, can you actually see in there? Yes, that's a solder pot. That's full of molten solder. Sorry about the shaking and whatnot with the camera. And what I'm doing is I'm soldering the ends of these cables. And the reason for that is, how many times have you worked on a cable and the end gets all frayed and gnarly, kind of like the old one? Here, let's see. Here's the old one. This is actually too bad at all. But the ends will fray out, and then you can never slide it into the hole again, and yeah, real pain in the butt. So by soldering them, dipping them into the solder pot, it binds the end of the cable together so that it doesn't fray. There we go. Now, because this is too big to slide in there, I bend the cable, I slide it in there, and you got to let it soak for 15, 20 seconds till it gets nice and hot, and then the solder binds to it. And if you get a little too much solder on it, don't worry. Get some sandpaper, say 220 grit or 330 or something, and just sand the solder down. Now I'm using what I had available at the hardware store. It's not a lead-based solder, this is a silver solder, but it works the same. And so yeah, if you put too much solder on the end of the cable, just sand it down and to make it round again. But that prevents it from fraying, and it will allow me to cut this cable back, because I know I made it too long. It'll allow me to cut the cable back, and when I cut it, it won't fray out. Okay? Make sense? Little tip. Back to work. Okay, this might be a really short video because I'm just going to have it on these brake cables, but I've got the brake cables in. And let's take a look at what they look like now. As you can see, they come up here, get attached to that line, and into the fuselage. Nice and clean. Nothing hanging and dragging, that kind of stuff. Now, when the landing gear does lift up, and let me demonstrate that. And let's see. Point this down a bit. There we go. When the landing gear is lifted and locked in place, that's what happens. Now, this is where one of the struts are located, right here, along this landing leg. So completely out of the way, no trip hazard, other than, well, this here when the passenger gets in and out. There's nothing I can do about this. It's much better than before. This is on that steel cable that holds the landing gear leg when you're landing, so it's there all the time. So this is quite secure. If they do trip on this, they're going to hit that steel cable. It's just this one here that might be a concern, but much, much less of a concern than it was going in front, the way it was routed, because me being the pilot, I'm going to be getting in and out of this aircraft a heck of a lot more than I'm going to have a passenger. As a matter of fact, my passenger carrying is going to be pretty rare. So making it a clear pathway for me to get in and out, which will be in front of this wing strut here, which is located here. Yeah, that's a win. This is wide open here. It's all wide open. Now I'm going to be getting in and out on the opposite side because that's where I'm putting that third door. But I'm really seriously considering adding a third door here on the left side. We'll see after I fly it for a while whether I need it or not. Don't know. But anyways, that's the left side done. Now I got to do the right hand side, and then do a little bit of cleanup and carry on with other work. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Been in the hangar for 4 hours. This cabling took longer than I expected because of issues. I won't get into it. But let's keep this update short and sweet. I haven't had an update in a couple of weeks. My apologies for that. I had a pretty heavy workload, and we also had some blizzards, as you can tell from the beginning of this video. We were blown in as well for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of bad weather. Minus 35 Celsius, high winds, so yeah, I didn't come out to the hangar. Anyways, let me go behind the camera there and I'll show you what I've done. So, sorry for the camera shake work, but as you can see, cable's tied in there. Let's go to the other side. Brake and landing gear cable tied in there. I also took this, oh, hang on, oh, rotten camera work. I need a new cameraman. Should fire the one I got. Okay, this cable here is to lift the, oh, be better if you're straight up and down, sorry guys, is for the water rudder. The cabling goes through here, and it originally went here and up the front, and you're crooked again. So I decided to strap it to the locking cable for the landing gear. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And if I stand back, let me turn on this monitor. There we go. It looks a lot cleaner, an awful lot cleaner. Remember, of course, that over there is one of the struts, and over there, landing gear and the other strut. So really, the passenger does have, you know, a bit of an obstacle there, but it's a lot better. It's a lot cleaner, I think. And most importantly, the pilot has nothing to trip over, that being me, on either side. So, there I go, spun you around. Did you get dizzy? Ah, did you? Ah. I know I would have. The barf bags are in the seat backs in front of you. That's it for today. I've been working on my airplane, and then now for the last hour and a half, almost 2 hours, I've been working on my other airplane. That's the Emerald that's sitting over there. I'm starting work on the instrument panel. A lot of measuring, a little bit of drilling, and all that kind of stuff, and figuring out, you know, clearances. Very important. And this is what I've got so far. On the other airplane, this is the center panel. The Emerald is going to have 3 panels for the instrument panel. There's 2 on the side that kind of curve down. This is going to have the master switch on this side and the key switch, and on this side is going to be the same, curves down with the windshield, and it's going to have just a glove box in there. But this is going to have the EFIS laid out here, and then a couple of steam gauges. We're going to use some steam gauges as our backup, altitude, airspeed, and we'll have a magnetic compass for a backup to the EFIS, switches across the bottom. I'll film that too, even though it's not a Challenger. It's another airplane. So this is how it starts off. It's a raw piece of aluminum. There you go. Well, you guys must be getting really dizzy. A raw piece of aluminum that now I've got marked up. I've got the holes drilled where we've got nut plates, and to mount this panel to the aircraft. And then I measured clearances in behind and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'll film this too. Sure, why not? I'm not going to change the name of the channel to Emerald. I could. No, it's still a Challenger 2 channel. Yeah, I'll keep you up to date. I got to work on this panel because they want to do an engine start soon, which means I need to get the instrumentation in there fairly quick, and so that we can monitor the engine conditions. So I'll like I said, keep up to date with that. Thanks for following along. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and thanks for following along. I really do appreciate it, and I really appreciate the comments too, even the nasty ones. Which, amazingly enough, I haven't had any nasty comments. You know, like, you're ugly and your mother dresses you funny, you know, that kind of stuff. So, stay tuned. I'll try to make sure that I update a little more often, and have yourself a great week. Bye-bye.